say good morning to our listeners. Let's say good morning to the viewers, of course. All who was looking at and viewing to the point this morning, listening and viewing to the point this morning. How's everybody doing? Hope you're having an awesome morning. It's Tuesday, the 13th day of January. Yes, it's already 13 days within the month of January, within the year 2026. Let's say good morning to my viewers and listeners, also those of you out there in the diaspora who are viewing via YouTube channels, Facebook page. Good morning to you, and certainly happy to have you with us this morning here on today's edition. I'm your host, GT. With me this morning, of course, representing the New National Party. You know, it's Opposition Tuesday here on today's edition. We have, of course, Mr. Christopher Allie Jr. Am I right about that?
Yes, sir.
Good morning to you, sir. How you doing? Happy New Year, I should say also.
Happy New Year to you and your family, GT, and all the GBN family and the listeners. I would like to say Happy New Year to everyone, and it's a pleasure being back here with you this morning.
All right, man. It's always also a pleasure to have you. We have that good communication part of it. You know, sometimes you have an individual come in the studio, but the communication is not always on par. And it's always good to have you within the studio. So welcome back. 2026.
Yeah, boy.
As I mentioned, 13 days already with it. How has it started for you? As being the caretaker for the New National Party, the south of the island, you have seen how things start. Some folks may say it's a bit early, but there's always things you see as an individual who is given that responsibility to see how individuals are within the particular constituency you're given that opportunity to take care of. How has it been for you thus far?
Brother GT, this new year has started at serious pace. Obviously, it is continuing from December. I think in December was a lot in the community trying to help people with certain hampers and talking to a lot of people, and then in January it just kind of escalated a bit more. I think with the new year, people have an invigoration of like, what are we doing now? What is our plans? A lot of people been reaching out to have a chat, to talk to me, to get to know me, but also to hear what are the plans for the community. What are the practical plans that are we dealing with? Because right now people are frustrated. There's a level of disappointment, a level of anxiety. There's a little bit of hope, but a lot of like worry. What's going on? And we have situations where I'm in the south. I have tourism customers who have their bars, hotels, Airbnbs. I have those people who are my constituents. I have people who live within the constituency and work for these institutions. I have people who have taxi businesses and live around the constituency that all are around tourism. So I have a very tourism-centric community, and right now with a travel advisory, with still the roads not fully complete and people still avoiding the south because of the road situation, this is all things that are adding to people's anxiety because children are going back out to school. The money that you thought you would have make in double in December didn't really work out that way. I'm talking to people who have Indian store businesses in real estate. I have people who are doing retail businesses in clothes and other food businesses who told me what they expected from the Christmas this year, or last year, sorry. A year before that, it was 35 to 45% higher. So what you had now was a significant shortfall in cash flow within my community, and my community is a business hub of this country. So that was a situation where I was talking to a lot of people who are very, very worried. Like, they're seeing a lot of changes in the region with travel advisory, certain geopolitical situations, food costs on the rise. Then we hear governmental institutions such as NAWAS and statutory bodies like that and Glen with increased prices and stagnant ways of making income. They are very worried, and young families more so, because I think people forget young people in this community, starting from 18, who start into the working world, working in UVL, working in Clear Harbor, starting a job in the hotel industry. These young people are taking some of the hardest brunts in starting out to work. They're taking the lowest basic wage, and then they're paying their first set of independence costs, which is a cost for a vehicle, a cost to have your own place outside your parents' house. All these things are a confluence of things that is adding up to frustration, anxiety in the community.
Let me also ask you this. I mean, from your personal assessment, from the conversation you've been having with the business community within your constituent or the constituent you're taking care of, from your personal assessment, what is the real real reason or reasons why you may think that, the complaints has been to the level for last Christmas? Why were the businesses not getting that strong feedback in terms of their sales and so forth? What, in your personal assessment, what do you think were the root cause of that?
All right. Well, there's several root causes. I don't think there's just one, right? Take, for example, I was talking to a friend of mine. They're a couple, and I'll just suppose there are two couples I had a conversation with. A friend, they were telling me, like, they have a 12-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter. And normally in Christmas past, when come Christmas Eve or 23rd, they'll get them about $200-$300 each and say, go in town, have some fun with your friends and shop for whatever things you want, go have fun. And they told me I could not give that extra $500-$600 to my children this year because I had to make that decision. Do I want to give them the same Christmas meal of before, or are we eating some macaroni and cheese and some big chicken? What was the choice? Because ham was $400-$500 a salt ham, and you have turkey prices up, everything. I did groceries for a family, and I'm talking 2 bags of groceries, 2 big bags of groceries was $560, just bare necessities. And this is a worrying thing because you have families with kids and they would sacrifice more for the kids. Now there's a next family who she has a partner, both of them working, 1 child, and she is looking for a new place to live in the new year. And when she's looking out for rent and stuff in the community, she was paying $650 before for 1 bedroom for her and a child and a partner. Now she can't find anything less than $900. No, she has to try to make room in her budget for the extra $300 while still paying school fees, groceries, utilities, all on the increase. So she's literally limiting what she can spend or splurge on. You can't go to umbrellas and go on spend $80 to $100 when you really have a tight budget. You can't go to Best for Less and buy a few extra things for the kids and toys because times are hard and the budget is much skinnier. So all businesses and their issues are a reflection of the society. We right now are under a serious affordability crisis in the country. We're not speaking up about it. People are all saying things hard. But bro, and what is making things hard is the consistent normalized bills and an increase of those without any sort of alleviation for people to increase their earning potential. So it is a confluence of things, GD, that is hurting our citizenry, and a lot of people are coming to me highly frustrated, highly disappointed, and are just a lot of angst and worry about what is going to happen this year.
Tell me something. I'll still keep the conversation. I mean, of course, food prices, the inflation, of course, and so forth. We heard the finance minister, of course, admitted that food inflation remains unacceptably high. Than overall inflation. People say that they are working harder and then even, and still falling behind for various reasons. You're working that hard, but somehow you still are letting those ends are not meeting for whatever reason. Even though you take the extra hours, you do the overtime, whatever available slots on your workplace is available to get a couple extra. Folks are doing it, but still it's not adding up for some reason or the other. When families say that price for essentials are breaking them, you understand? What do you believe is that driving pressure right now?
Well, I have some friends who work in supermarkets, and I have friends who own supermarkets, and I talk to them all the time. I was like, bro, I can't afford things in Rams. You know what I mean? I don't want to hate on Rams, but my budget is small.
Probably we should mention the company.
Yeah, but there's certain areas like people believe that are socioeconomic locked off from them. They can't buy certain things because they have to focus on what can stretch. And that is also, GT, I'm sorry, but it's also affecting our health. When we have to choose, let's vegetables and good food because they're too costly. And I'm being honest, it is the good food that is for our bodies is way too costly.
They say to eat healthy is expensive. Huh?
It is expensive. I can get flour and canned goods and all these things, the preservatives and things are not good for our body at a way cheaper cost. We need to start to think about proactive solutions and how we do this. First of all, we should not have wastage in this country when we have agro-producing situations. If we're spending money or finding money for consultants and all kind of fancy thing, 2.5 million for Mount Sinai for just consultant fee, we finding increased travel allowance to keep traveling, we finding all kind of things to do other things. What are the food security things you're doing locally? How is that money being reinvested for farmers? They should have a buyback program for farmers who they should not have any wastage. If you cannot sell your pumpkin and your squash and your sweet potatoes, any of these things to the local market, they should have a program that is launched through the Marketing National Importing Board where they have a buyback and give these things into food insecure zones in the communities. There are many communities in this country that are food insecure. I saw an initiative on a stretch in the south where someone had what they call a community kitchen, where people drop off food that they have extra from their groceries or whatever and add up so that people who don't have these things can come to them and get these things. Why can't I see a private individual doing that? Why can't we do it on a national level?
Well, Grenadians are a little pride-stricken to it.
I understand that, but even though pride-stricken, I don't believe we are so full of pride that we would still starve. You know what I mean? Even though, because I come from a community in the country where if you don't have, you go by a neighbor, right? My grandmother, when I grew up in town, she didn't have such and such. She called out to her neighbor and saying, hey, and then that is how we are as a community. We still lean on each other. I just want to integrate that leaning on each other in a national level.
How do you think salary is keeping up with inflation right now?
Bro, that is seriously lagging behind. And I just want to say this. I don't think its onus is on businesses and just the people who own businesses, because a salary is a line item in your budget that affects price of goods, all these things. These are your cost of goods, like salary and the bills that maintain the business are going to add back on to what they price their stock for. So I don't think you can just like tell everybody, increase everybody's salary. Because the businessman would say, well, I increase my costs, I have to increase my profitability. So if I own a supermarket, I have to put that price up there. So just saying straight out, oh, we just need to increase everybody's salaries is nonsense. What we need to do is kind of create practical ways of earning a serious living in this country without always being so burdened by the obligation of tax and other things like that. We need to find out a nice medium where we can find where Grenadians can succeed in this country and not be second-class citizens. Because I see in the South, we have so many businesses and families who are coming back from the U.S., starting a villa, a Airbnb business, and all these things. But how much of that is focused on a private-public partnership where we create avenues of low-cost rental schemes where people who are just starting their first job can get into a program like that, so they don't have to spend 60 to 70% of their income in just rent? We need to find the practical solutions that keep young people hopeful, energized, and focused on building a future in Grenada.
You know, I understand where you come from, but we have to understand that there's little or no manufacturing taking place in Grenada. We depend a whole lot on importation of mostly all that we consume here. You know, yes, we do have farmers who produce, you know, some of the resources that or some of the products that we need to eat, you know, some of the vegetables, and sometimes they can't even keep up with the demand of what people need. I mean, with the new National Party, you know, administration for some reason comes into power again, what difference would you like to see happen in terms of putting that curve on the level of importation, what would you like to see offered? The incentives are more offered to farmers who are doing the farming at the scale that they're doing it now. What incentive should be offered to them to maybe do more in terms of increasing their production and so forth? Because some farmers, I know they want to do more, but it's limited because the market that they need for it also is limited. The cost that they may have to sell their products at, sometimes it's way beyond the consumer wanting to pay for it. You understand? Because sometimes I wonder, things that are produced in Grenada is more costly than what we import. Sometimes you get that feeling. You understand? From a new national party perspective, for some reason you all get back into power again. Hope I'm not telling you that in a way that gets you off a bit.
No. I mean, I have been looking at the agro situation because it's a personal thing for me. Like I'm a mushroom farmer, but I literally do it in a completely different perspective.
Okay.
I do believe that we need to start looking at agriculture differently.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we cannot compete with countries who have a larger land mass than us. Flatter, easier to irrigate, easier to manage. These countries have an advantage over us, like Guyana and most of Latin American countries. They'll always be able to produce at a cheaper, scalable situation. What we do need, though, is to create a kind of certain value niches in this country agro-wise. The fact is, when you go into hotels in the south and all these 5-star and hotels, they want to see beautiful, vibrant looking fruits and stuff. How much people are producing high quality, high-end fruits? How much dragon fruit producers do we have? How much of these superfood fruits are we producing? We may not have to always focus on scale, like trying to be the cheapest, but we need to find out how we create high-value goods that can be servicing our market, which is our tourism market. We cannot be creating goods that cannot be consumed both locally and by the people who traverse through our country. We have to focus our agro system in those areas. We need to have certain areas of the country that is focused on certain types of things that is lend well geographically to them. Like, I won't put a bunch of seasoning peppers and a pepper farm in an area that is constantly wet, or is what you consider a part of the country that is a rain catchment area. I won't put it there. I won't put certain fruits or certain things or mangoes in certain areas, because these areas produce the best mangoes and high quality of sweetness and these kind of things. We need that locally, because when you look at some people who prepare even the cocktails and everything, there's dried fruit in these cocktails, the garnishes. There's foods that people eat now on a more superfood basis. We need to figure out how to create these kind of systems in our country. Instead of worrying about the rice, when we think about different things like, create quinoa and different high protein valued things that people eat locally. These are the areas and conversations we need to open up. And I am not deterred. I think an NMP administration I personally think we do need to do a lot more in agriculture. I think as a party we need to become more concerned about our food system. Our food system is just as important as our health system. Sure. A doctor told me, if you don't eat your medicine, you're definitely going to come back by me and take your medicine. So it's either you pay for it in a grocery store or you pay for it at a doctor. All the things that our body needs is around us. So we need to eat healthy as a country and focus our food systems around that.
I once had a conversation with a visitor who came from another part of the world, and said that they would like, when they visit our island, not see the same foods that they have on there in there wherever they came from. They come and they see they get any strawberries and the berries and that I can access where I live in the quantities. But I don't want to come to a tropical island where I want to see more of what you produce, especially when I go to the restaurants and stuff and other certain things. It's like I'm getting a repeat of where I come from.
Agreed.
Sometimes that's something I think something which should be looked into.
Bro, my dad been crawling because he want me to keep picking cherries every day. We have a cherry tree that producing real cherries right now. And I was just saying, Dad, why don't we have more cherry juice available in the country? Like, local juices. I probably go, my boy Andy Soup in Springs. I go by him because I'm for 100% sure I get the best local juices by him. And he has a guy, he supplies them. We need more of these things, beets and all these, like, beet juice should be a thing in this country, especially for males. Like, we need to think about how beet juice is good for our prostate, and we have an increased situation of prostate cancer in our country. These are the things that we need to start talking about. I just heard the minister talking about increased production of Irish potato and stuff. I agree, good, more potato, but why not sweet potato? Why not yellow potato? We have so much varieties that are highly more nutritious and better, because I want to see more sweet potato fries and stuff in the supermarket that is locally made than a bunch of imported fries. So yes, we do need that.
We drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. On the Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We'll be right back. It's a short break. Stay with us.
Grenada, are you ready for the biggest football showdown to kick off 2026? Our senior men's national team is back, and they're going for 7 straight wins. Sunday, January 18th, Team Grenada takes on regional rivals Jamaica in a clash of titans at the Karani James Athletic Stadium. Kickoff 5 p.m. sharp. It's pride, power, and pure Caribbean football. Grenada versus Jamaica, a rivalry like no other. Can we make it 7 in a row? Come feel the energy, the passion, the fight. Tickets just $25 for adults, $10 for children. Kids under 10 enter free. Grab yours now at Heather's Boutique, Chucky's Bar, Grenadian Optical, or GFA's office. Tell your friends, bring the family, and let's pack the stadium. This is more than a match. This is Grenada versus Jamaica, and we want all of you to be in the stands. Sunday, January 18th at 5 p.m. Grenada versus Jamaica. One team, one goal.
If you thought 2025 was amazing, get ready, Grenada. GBN's Old Young Fest is back and bigger than ever. Join us on Saturday, the 31st of January at Pearl's Airstrip for a full day of food, culture, and fun. Watch competitors battle it out for the title of the best original oil down, the best seafood oil down, and the most festive display. Enjoy live calypso and a steel pan, children's activities, traditional ring games, and plenty vibes for the whole family. Gates open at 10 a.m. Don't miss the celebrations of Grenada's national dish, GBN Old Young Fest, where culture, flavor, and tradition comes together. See you on Saturday, January 31st at Pearl's Airstrip. And remember,
I think we should really put the focus on the quality of life. Can I still continue living my why, my reason for doing what I'm doing? And that depends on my health. That means I organize my priorities in my life, and my first priority is me. Then in me, the first thing is my health. And that's the message that I think we need to push to everyone, that your health is really your responsibility. It's not the doctor's responsibility, not my mother, not my nurse, not the government, but I'm the one who needs to take responsibility for my health.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Welcome back to of course our listeners and viewers. It's to the Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV, of course. So the Allie, welcome back on today's program. I want to switch the conversation just a wee bit. Grenada just got a U.S. travel warning. That is a little bit unprecedented for some way. If you could unprecedented some way, you could say to that. How do you expect that impact in terms of going forward?
GT,
to impact us in going forward.
I really hope the impact is really limited. One, because it affects my community really directly, and I think it affects our country in a great way. I don't believe that tourism is just like a little over 28, or I think tourism is about 50% of our GDP. When you see the amount of taxi owners, the amount of people who have businesses such as rideshare services, restaurants, all these other businesses feed off of tourism. And having a travel advisory is highly concerning. I think the reality is that I'm talking to fishermen in Calais and Woburn, and not just the travel is also like, I mean, shipping.
The banning is also the effect.
Yeah, if a fish. So these guys are looking at, and they're talking to me as a potential politician who would be serving them, telling me, boss, like, where's the off ramp for us? If people start to like book less, I have less tours to go on. I have lower income to feed my family. I have situations where fishermen who just sitting on the block and they don't know what's the point going out and fish if they're not sure if the fish is going to get sailed, because the people our fish economy right now is highly export oriented. We have one of the best ahi tunas in the world, in my view. I go to Carib Sushi and I will tell you, we have some of the best fish quality in the region. And anybody from Trinidad, Barbados, anybody who come here will say we have some of the best fish. The fact that this hasn't been dealt in a diplomatic way that allowed fishermen to see some sort of resolution in this new year is worrying. On the side of the travel ban, there are a lot of people with Airbnbs, hotels, who are calling me, telling me they're seeing a dip already with people pulling back. Not crazy. I know there's other countries who have travel bans and still have a vibrant tourism market. Mm-hmm. But what are we doing to showcase ourselves as a people, and how are we pivoting going forward as a country to make sure that we deal with these problems in a proactive manner, not reactive? Because we're approaching the fourth year of this administration. We can't now expect. I'm seriously expecting more from my politicians and elected representatives, because there's a time you give everyone to kind of catch yourself and understand the role of government. But it's time now when we have to start looking and charting a way forward for the country. And I need to see that. Businesses need to see that. Private individuals need to see that, because they chart the future of their businesses and their families based on that direction. If you don't create a hopeful off-ramp for fishermen, for people in tourism industry, then a lot of anxiety and worry and frustration is going to be embedded in our economy. People would start to pull back from investing in that expansion because they're not sure what the economy would look like a year from now. They're not sure if they should add 2 more vehicles to the taxi fleet, because they just be careful because they don't want to take an extra loan right now when they're not sure of the income coming down the year. People are stagnating their development and their investment because they're not sure what the future may bring. That affects our country in a huge way. The direction we need from our government officials is a clear direction forward, a clear, practical, proactive measures that says to the people and the electorate that we see you, we see the problems that you're dealing with, and we plan to respectfully address this in a way that makes sure that you feel that your government is working for you. And a lot of people are not feeling like that. I understand geopolitics and like some things shift all the time. But we also expect our government officials to shift along with these problems. I don't want to be told all the problems. Yes, we know things are hard, things are bad, things are shifting geopolitically, but that is a problem that I can see on CNN and if I wake up in the morning. I want to know from my people, what are we doing as Grenadians to make sure that we shift our country in a way that the sales and economic winds would catapult and blow our country in a new direction of higher heights and more economic gains. Young people don't want less, we want more. We want more growth.
Would you say it's easier said than done?
It is a lot easier said than done. But I also would like to see the practical solutions. If I can see launching of a VAT-free day, launching of a period where we allow, say, for certain industries in such as electrification, solar panels, even certain retail, and tell them, we're giving zero tax across the board because we want your businesses to help grow the economy of the future. Where's the proactive adjustments, both private and public, to help our people say, okay, this is the way we're going forward. Electricity prices are getting higher. Guess what? We're going to shift even higher and harder to solar. I only bring in companies that making sure that Grenada goes from 90% using fossil fuels down to 40% in 5 years. I want companies to come and say, we're creating a solar array that we put in solar panels on everybody's house that can see a roof, but it feeding back to the grid so that make sure an entire parish can be off lower the generating cost so that their bill won't pass $50. We need to see the kind of practical solutions that tell our people that we see their problems and we're targeting it. I don't want to be just told, yeah, things are hard and that is easy. I want to be told, well, we understand where things are going, and we have been communicating with technocrats and professionals and consultants, and we're charting a way forward that helps build our people. Our economy may go through a little rough period of transition, but this is where we're going, and this is how we're getting there. We need to be told practical, communicative solutions that our people get, and young people can fall behind. But I don't see that right now.
You know, between the fishing ban, we spoke about that show a while ago. Leaving many out of income. You spoke about that. You spoke about you spoke to the fishermen and so forth in the urban area and other areas. The travel warning, leaving many in the tourist sector, at risk in terms of, that's another way of income going to be deprived from especially folks who depend on the tourism sector. What action do you believe people expect from leaders, to restore that particular confidence?
I think as obvious as policy. I mean, the one thing leaders can do is sit down with the best and brightest minds and figure out how we can address through policy, how we change either governmental situations or for the private sector, how they can drive the economy further. I want to see more people in the private sector say, I'm looking forward to doing that kind of investing and that kind of investing, because that's where the country is going. We need to not just think of only government. Government, two hands must clap.
So sure.
There's public and there's private. What are we doing for the private individuals, the business owners, the entrepreneurs, the future entrepreneurs, the visionaries, the dream takers, the risk takers? What are we doing for them? What are the new financing models so we create new small businesses in the island? More tourism businesses. We're talking about, all these things that could happen are potential, but how do we finance them? What are the new financing models that you are creating? Yes, you got in a GDP and all these other things that you inherited, but what did you do to the system that helped invigorate the system and change it? We need more financing models such as venture capital, private equity, and other things that help businesses take greater risk, and more expansive policies to help build out tourism, and have young entertainers and young people taking risk in building clubs and other entertainment venues. We need more investment in our country, and I don't believe that it should be all thrown at the government feet. I am trying to become a young politician in this country. I am not saying that we can solve it all. The government cannot solve it all, but what we can do is open up the doors, loosen up the policy and the regulation, deregulate, create environments of success for the people, allow them to take the risk, allow them to chart the way forward. Because look at what's going on. We have a ailing public health sector. But look how much young businesses have started in giving the medical tests and services around that, because the hospital couldn't do it. The private sector always would find the gaps where our economy is struggling. We need to also, as government, help work with the private sector, help talk to them and create the kind of risk environment where they can take more and help build our country forward. And that is the kind of things I would like to talk about.
Why do you believe that business are so hesitant of the risk in terms of what you spoke about? Is it because of the lack of incentives from governments, and not only from government, of course, out their own self as business owners and so forth? Why are they that hesitant sometimes to take those risks and get into those particular investments?
Well, one is capital is not cheap. When any institution right now is for business risk. You have about 10, maximum a 15-year loan. You have with 7 to 8% interest rate as a business loan. It is a fixed situation where you have to pay that back, even though your business may go up, down, sideways during that time. The reality is that we need to start looking at the systematic blocks in our country. One of that, yes, I can say finance is a risk. If we had more capital and easier ways to deploying it and that kind of way, there is that side of things. But also, I don't believe, say, my parents' generation can take risk. They're in the retirement trying to, make sure that is their thing. The younger people are the most risk-tolerant generation. They can take a loss and start a next business and keep going. Most people in capitalist economies, most entrepreneurs and first millionaires happen within 18 to 25. We don't have that kind of risk taking in our model for young people. Young people need to see themselves as the future leaders of this country. That you might create the next Huggins, the next Waggy Tea, the next, hotel this. You can't create that, but we need to create the pathways for young people to see themselves in that future. And that is what I think a government role is in. I want to create a pathway for more young people to take more risk so that they can start new businesses and build new areas of economy. We can't expect the old generation to fill the gaps of the new. I can't expect my father, who could need help to fix his WhatsApp update, to tell me what the new economy is for the future. When I have AI, universal basic income, and all these kind of worries that may come in the next 10 to 15 years, how do we chart the future given the future problems? Because education will be something that's different now in the future than before. I am what I considered old school educated, going to university, passing exams, getting a certificate on the wall. But new school ways, there are things like Google Skills online where people can learn so much different degrees in 6 to 8 hours a week sometimes, and have practical skills that can be fit for the world. No different coding techniques and all these things, so they can work at home without leaving to go to the US. These are all things that we need to start talking about.
All right. We're due for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We will be right back after the break. Don't touch it out.
What am I dealing with? Well, you know this is me, one lion, two dread. GBN Oil Long Fest. All the oil long bosses out there, come and register. Pearls Airstrip, January 31st, we outside. Let me see who can cook. They say country better than tongue, but we go find out on the 31st of January. Come on, GBN Oil Long Fest. You can't miss it. Food just tastes good. Oil long just tastes better. Oh, when I get mad at Greece, I Greece said, and I feel like I call on in the
If you thought 2025 was amazing, get ready, Grenada. GBN's Old Young Fest is back and bigger than ever. Join us on Saturday, the 31st of January at Pearls Airstrip for a full day of food, culture, and fun. Watch competitors battle it out for the title of the best original oil down, the best seafood oil down, and the most festive display. Enjoy live calypso and a steel pan, children's activities, traditional ring games, and plenty vibes for the whole family. Gates open at 10 a.m. Don't miss the celebrations of Grenada's national dish, GBN Old Young Fest, where culture, flavor, and tradition comes together. See you on Saturday, January 31st at Pearls Airstrip. And remember,
Grenada, are you ready for the biggest football showdown to kick off 2026? Our senior men's national team is back, and they're going for 7 straight wins. Sunday, January 18th, Team Grenada takes on regional rivals Jamaica in a clash of titans at the Karani James Athletic Stadium. Kickoff 5 p.m. sharp. It's pride, power, and pure Caribbean football. Grenada versus Jamaica, a rivalry like no other. Can we make it 7 in a row? Come feel the energy, the passion, the fight. Tickets just $25 for adults, $10 for children. Kids under 10 enter free. Grab yours now at Heather's Boutique, Chucky's Bar, Grenadian Optical, or GFA's office. Tell your friends, bring the family, and let's pack the stadium. This is more than a match. This is Grenada versus Jamaica, and we want all of you to be in the stands. Sunday, January 18th at 5 p.m. Grenada versus Jamaica. One team, one goal.
Hello, Grenada. I am thrilled to share with you the Grenada Tourism Authority's 2026 marketing strategy. Our mission is to position Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique as premier destinations for travelers seeking authentic and enriching experiences. This strategy is dynamic and data-driven, leveraging our unique selling points and emerging travel trends to drive visitor arrivals, boost economic impact, and enhance our destination's competitiveness. In this video series, we'll explore the core pillars and strategic focus areas that will guide us in the coming year. We'll discuss how we plan to tap into key markets, expand into new territories, and ensure that our offerings remain relevant and appealing to travelers from around the world. Stay tuned as we embark on this exciting journey together.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers. Once again, we have Mr. Christopher Allie Jr. with us this morning, representing the New National Party. So, Mr. Allie, I want to get to another question that I have here that I want to ask you just a wee bit. You know, rent has risen sharply, especially in tourism and urban centers. You know, like your constituency, a matter of fact. We know what it's like to live in the south of the island.
Right.
You understand? What does that mean for young families trying to stay in their own communities? You know, I'm from the south. I want to stay there, but I want to move out to mommy's or daddy's house, and I think I want to be my own man, as we would say in local terms. You know, be my own woman and be in local terms. What does that really say for these young families want to say with the cost of it?
Brother, that's probably a very at-home issue for me, because I'm a 30-something-year-old who's still living at home because the rent is so high in the south, brother. You know much young people right now who would spend their money and build it downstairs of their parents' home because that is more cost-effective than going and rent an apartment, and that's dead money. A lot of people, and I'm speaking mostly to young people, who are struggling because the normal ladder that their parents used to get up is not the same ladder that's there for them today.
So true.
And we're using a system that is constantly changing so fast for young people without any sort of retraining and retrenchment of how we attack the problems for the future. So the rent, right now, I'm with a friend of mine and I'm trying to help her find a place. She works with me in a constituency and a very good friend of mine. And bro, I've been calling, there's no place in the south that she can get, honestly, that's not quoted in US. That is a fact. Yeah. I am from the most expensive place to live in the island, and that is the South St. George's. That is a fact. If you are not, your parents have not made a situation where they can have an apartment for you or somewhere where you can live independently on the property, it is almost impossible to work and rent and still save and build for, say, hopefully a mortgage later on. It is tough. And young people are not seeing like they get like a car that's going up a hill, but you have no grip on the tires. You're pressing the extra board, but all it is burning smoke and no grip. You're not moving up. And that is what a lot of young people feeling right now. That they're working hard, they're taking overtime, they're taking extra shifts, they're doing all these things, they're losing time with their family, but they have not much to show for their families. The vehicle costs, it may be easier or cheaper to own a vehicle now, but the maintenance cost hasn't changed. The gas still expensive, tires not cheap. All these things are adding burdens. And rent, I would love to say right now, I have been thinking about the problem in a very deep way. I don't think we should be in a situation where we have a rent crisis. I think affordability crisis is a quiet problem in this country, but the rent is one of those pillars of that affordability crisis. Young people, I would like to tell them that we need to start talking about areas in the South that are price locked, where if a private individual and had a governmental program where he can bring in all his materials and everything to build this quasi low housing scheme situation building, would that mean that he would have the profitability to survive? So I mean, he needs a 10-year tax break from this from the government, not just a concession on materials, because once he starts earning income, he'll be over the 333,000 threshold. So how do we allow private individuals to see their way in helping to solve a national issue like housing? I don't think young people right now, one bedroom should be at least under $859. When a 2-bedroom, say $1,500. These are areas at least we can say a practical. Even I think it go lower than that. But we need to start creating a transparency network that monitors the rent prices in Grenada. Because as I said, I'm looking for places, and I'm like, we looking at places in Sans Souci, everywhere outside of the South, because those are where her budget could reach. And when you see what's going on, I have a landlord who once said to me last week, 900, and when I call him back to say, well, boss, we're looking like we might take the place, she told me, say, nah, 1,500. Okay, see Carnival coming up, and I can get my place Airbnb, and a person will pay me $2,000 US, and I can make that money. So getting locked in for that price, not conducive.
I understand.
So we have a situation. We need to work on both ends of the spectrum. We need to start talking about how do we create the frameworks for private individuals to take that risk to solve a national issue like that, and how as a governmental we're creating the environment where young people feel more at ease to move out and start their independence like that. We need to create that environment.
What do you think ordinary Grenadians need most right now? Do they need relief? They need respect, or they need reassurance?
First, I would say respect is one of the highest in that there.
Yeah.
We need to be respected as a people to be told the brass tacks, the truth. And we also need to be respected enough where even our leaders we can say like we don't know right now, but we're trying to find a practical solution. We need a level of respect to the electorate that we can find do our own research. We can Google and we can YouTube. We can compare what you're doing to other regional leaders right now. Information is a lot more available to our electorate than ever before. So we need to start with that respect of candor, telling our people how we can move forward. Assurance comes after that. Tell them like sometimes, as I said, anxiety and frustration is high in our culture. It's palpable. But we need to, with that respect, that kind of reassurance comes next, because we create that open communication with our people where we understand like these are the issues we're facing and these are what we're doing. We're taking certain diplomatic missions to countries such as Guyana, here, because we're trying to start new industries that help our people. We're trying to create new markets in fishing because we may not be able to send our fish to the U.S., but there's many U.S. territories and other islands that are high tourism that need our fish. So we're trying to create export markets in those regions right now. Guyana is a country that has more water fish. They would love if we send some lovely ahi tuna and stuff to their restaurants. I think let's create new markets regionally. But so that's my thing. I think start with respect, reassurance, and then the rest kind of falls into place. But our people definitely need to be told and need to be respected so that we can start as a collective, as a nationwide move to move forward.
If you could change one thing tomorrow to ease the daily pressures on on families, I should say, what would it be, sir?
Brother, I will say it loud and I'll say it clear for everybody to hear me. It should start with taxation. I would say straight up, I think we're overtaxed as a country. I think the easiest way for government to ever do anything is say, well, we're going to just more taxes. That is stifling the country. For someone who is working in the tourism sector, who is doing working overtime, service charge, all these performance incentives for the person who is doing so hard in their bank or credit union to make sure the business makes profit at the end of the year so they can get a bonus. Why are we overtaxing these people? These are hard work we're taxing. And then we're telling our same people our Grenadians don't like to work hard. We are not incentivizing hard work. We need to alleviate certain tax burdens. And I'm not saying, just subtract all tax. No. I'm talking about a balanced taxation system. Barbados and all these countries put on like 20 US a night or after a stay to develop their own economy, either in renewables and stuff. And I think we do have that now, but that should be increased. 20 US a day instead of just a 5 US at the end of your trip. 20 US a day. That's an additional 100 US. Person not thinking of that twice when it comes. Shift the tax burden not just on the local populace. We need to allow our people to find a way to thrive in this country and allow them to build livelihoods. If you start a second business, GT, and you have making some money there, and the taxman see your total income, they're taxing you to a point where you don't see the point of doing that anymore. We need to allow businessmen and people to take a risk, and we need to create the right tax system that allow people in Grenada to feel that their hard work is coming back to them. And I want to start from there. I really want people to say that we're not being creative enough in our tax system. We really are not. We need to find for ways for families who, on a high income earning level, even though we give you a tax break on these areas, create some value. Put more into charity. For the people who are retired, a lot of people don't know that. They're taxed in retirement. Why not creating a program where retirees can volunteer their times and expertise to go into schools, in primary schools, secondary schools, mentor young people, tell them how they made it and how to make it, tell them all the stresses, anxieties they went through and how they can do better. We have a lot of intelligent people who have given their time and value to the country, and once they retire, they just cast off. We need to find a way of pulling back our expertise back to our young people. Allow systems of mentoring, and government should make sure those people don't pay any tax, because that's how they're volunteering their time.
Okay.
So these are the areas I think that we really need to talk about.
All right. So we have approximately about 10 more minutes left on today's program. We'll give that 10 minutes to our listeners and viewers. Of course, they may have a question or two in relation to our conversation this morning. They may have ideas, of course, even offer solutions to some of course, the conversation we've been having this morning. 435-2041. We have both the WhatsApp and the direct line that you can call in via. We do have our first caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Good morning to you.
You know, youthful indiscretion, sometimes we see that display all the time. And some folks are very oblivious to certain development that is taking place in Grenada. And, of course, we've seen a display of political posturing. And a question was asked, which is one of the most important things we need right now in Grenada. Right now, there is no nation that could function, without the presence of the Most High God, first and foremost, as foundation. You know why? And I will stand by that. Because a nation that departs or move away from the precepts of the Most High would find themselves, and the people will find themselves in trouble. We will fail. So the first thing we must do is to recognize God as the master, as the anthem, and we're in the independence season right now, celebrating 52 years. No, what I'm seeing is that we all know there is no perfection in the human domain. But a lot of the regurgitations from the young man that is speaking there seems to me that he's running for some office from the opposition. And the narrative that is pushing is totally in contradiction to what the government portray and what they're doing. No, you have, certain things sound laughable to me. Because you had a former administration from the same gentleman who never put things in place measures for the future for the people. Never put things in place. They never had the foresight and the vision. They were clever in winning an election or winning an election, but did they put things in place, right, for that nation to thrive? For example, right now we are the creatives. The creatives is a project within a project. Seeing that, for example,
Caller, you know we are a bit strapped for time, so of course, if you want to take a wrap now in terms of getting your point across.
But I'm saying here that we too, or when folks speaking, they must show a level of honesty and they must be factual, because there's a lot that the government doing and the people are happy. Have yourself a good day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. You want to respond to the caller in any way?
I think that we all have perspectives, and I'm sitting from where I'm sitting and I'm trying to say that we can do more. I'm not saying the government is not trying and they're not trying to do their own best, but I think we can do way more, and I'm trying to add practical solutions to that path.
Okay, we do have another caller. What's up, caller? You're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, Caesar.
Allie. I just want to ask Mr. Allie a question. From his own standpoint, his certification took him how many years to qualify? I'm talking about going to college, university. It probably took him he finished when he was 25, 30?
You want to respond to the call?
22.
He's saying 22.
So he finished at 22. So he has a bachelor's or a master's degree at 22. Well, that's very good. Congratulations, sir. But the reality is, how many persons in the world that goes to college, comes out, and are fully qualified to start a business in terms of their experience or their knowledge? The 18 to 25 is very, very good. But our system is not geared towards that. Most persons, on average, is by 30 years. So the adjustment for people taking risk is not 18 years. It's probably a little bit older than that. It's probably, I would say, 22 to 24. But what have we learned for the last 51 years since independence, or the last 46 years from after 1979, or for the last 41 years? I hear the talk of we must be proactive and we must be visionary. Well, our vision over the last 41 years is depending on an income source that we have no control over. We don't own the plane, we don't own the people. So we're waiting for tourists to come. And what have we learned with all the up and down in the economy? Probably nothing, because we continue. So for example, the non-visionary government that we had said we're going to go into CBI investments. The CBI investments was still in a product that we have no control over. They didn't bother about our fishermen. They didn't bother about our agriculture. They didn't bother about our processing. They didn't bother about alternatives for energy. So we need to wake up. How could we continue on that basis? Thinking of things, doing things that we have no control over. Absolutely no control. So when you talk about visionary, we haven't had that at all. So for example, all the billions that has come into the economy with regard to CBI has gone into private people's pockets setting up buildings, hoping that people would come. And we had to spend money to market. But we did nothing for the fishing industry. As a matter of fact, some people want to blame just the present government. But Grenada have had a ban, not just on exporting fish. We have had a ban on conchs. We haven't been able to export conch. So what were these people doing? Just collecting taxpayers' money and laughing and fooling people and giving them some old talk? I mean, we need to wake up. But hopefully, brother, I hope your eyes are awakened. You're not awakened. I hope you are awakened and your eyes are open so that you can see that there needs to be things that we should do. So, for example, we have good water in places in Grenada, and nothing is done. Probably we need some 5-year-old or 15-year-old children to tell us what to do. Or we need some 75-year-old who would tell us some of their experiences. And therefore, coming from the experiences, we would learn to do certain things better. But bro, you have to go back to the drawing board for a young man. Grenada is a lot more than just the south of the island, CBI.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. 435, I'll respond to the caller if you would like to.
On two parts of the question, I do believe that most of our entrepreneurs in the world didn't have any degree. If I last checked, Steve Jobs dropped out of university. This fallacy that we like to believe that you must have a degree and go to school to start businesses is wrong. most of the people who are brilliant and excellent businessmen are not necessarily very academic or good at school. We need to come out of this kind of thing that we must go to school, get smart, and then after a while come back and start, after have some savings, start a business. That model doesn't seem to work. We need to take advantage of youthful exuberance and take advantage. And I agree that the island is not just the south of the island. I agree. We have to create value chains, networks all around the island. And I do believe the caller is on point. We're saying that we do see a lot more to be done. I'm not saying that we should disregard one for the other. I think we should all to come together and focus on the solutions that's all working for our people.
Okay, we do have another caller. Caller, live. Good morning. Welcome.
Yes, good morning to you, Doc.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to your guests. I want to give your last caller, some stars. Trust me, this is the type of people we want to hear. Now, listen to Mr. Allie. As a young man, your father was in business for quite some time, a good friend of mine. I'll tell you something. I'm hearing all the things that we should do, all the impediments. And I don't know if whilst you're saying that, deep inside your mind, maybe you should tell us, is that you see the country going to shut down. No. A few years ago, I had been speaking to Mr. Anthony Boson on a matter that I thought the banks had become a government, and the bank was doing things that was hurting the economy, hurting people, which is foreclosing on people with a bad economy, and something that they caused because they don't support the people generally, the small people generally. And I said to him, sir, the bank has become a government, and I had a document that I gave him as a proposal. And I said, you have to rein in the banks. And he told me, oh, you know, the bank is a private sector. I said, yes, I understand it's a private sector, but here's something. The bank is operating under the laws of the country and under the ECC laws. So what you have to do as a government, because all the government control the ECCB, do a clause that will prevent the bank from taking certain action to protect people. Yeah? And to help the people who are struggling, even though the bank have to foreclose, then there should be a way where the government could help the people pay off the loan and bring them under the Ministry of Finance, which are lower fee, and they will pay that until they complete. I said the country is going down a V. And if you understand what a V is, it's too steep hill in a valley. I said, in order to get out of that, you have to fast-track the citizens to financial fortune, which made us say that. Get the economy going to produce the jobs, get the business private sector to expand, create new areas where commerce can be engaged so that the revenue can flow. I said, failing to do that, cost is going to overwhelm us. Now I hear Mr. Allie saying about cost and things is expensive and young people is lost. No, you have to have vision to see those things. And even when I was talking then, he was clicking back and saying that, do this make sense? We would not have been where we are because we are in a serious economic problem where we have to grow the economy to create commerce, to employ the people, to be able to talk to them. If you can't give a young person occupation, you cannot talk to them. They will not listen to you. You have to give them occupation. And when you give them a job, you could put them, sit down and point them the way how to guide themselves with the job. But you can't talk to them now. So where they are, they're hyper. They're not going to listen to you, and they're going to commit crimes. So what could you do? You can't help them now. And so, Mr. Allie, I heard you. I'm hearing you, sir, as a young man. But I'll tell you something. It's a mammoth task to turn around and to grow the economy. I said it over and over. If the economy is not growing, expanding rapidly to create the dollars for the government through commerce, then we are in a lot of trouble. So I'm hearing you, and what I'm hearing is that this country is going to shut down. And I said it over and over. We are going to shut down if we can cut our costs. In other words, prevent the high costs that we're engaging in right now. We say we can't stop it because a lot come from foreign years.
Well, I'm going to ask you to take another 10 sec and wrap, please. We're strapped for time.
Yes, I understand that. So thank you for giving me time, and Mr. Adi, you have a big task in your hand if you want to get in there.
Thank you. Thank you. You want to respond to the caller? We do have another call on hold.
I completely agree. I have a mammoth task on hand as well as, but anything that is hard is worth doing, and I don't believe that we should shy away from the hard things. I agree with the caller on a lot of things that is cost are rising, and it's much tougher for people. So I agree.
Right. Yeah, we'll take another caller, which will be our final caller for the morning. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, you're live.
Yeah, good morning, host Mr. Gigi and Mr. Diali. Mr. Diali, I admire your passion, and I agree with some part of the last caller that you have a moment task on your hand. Here comes the comment I want to make. You mentioned about, additional comment I should say, you mentioned about private individuals taking risk. In order to take risk, you sometimes have to take loans. Private individuals don't just get money from the sand of, by the beach. You have to sometimes leverage. Sometimes people in the diaspora leverage their retirement funds. And to build and land in the South in Grandant is very expensive and is quoted frequently in US dollars. You're talking about some 10 to 20 US dollars per square foot. Now, somebody benefits from that. That's the people who sell the land and the people who do in the processing, you hire an attorney to do the paperwork and so on and so on. My point is, and then come the labor. So you're talking about a quarter-acre land amount to about 400,000 EC dollars. Then you talk about the labor, and you know the story about that, and the cost of building material and so on. So by the time you put up a building and you decide to rent it out, you have to create an adequate return on investment. When you need money for your retirement, you can't just take out a piece of brick, chisel out piece, and eat it. And so that comes from the service you provide, which is rent. So unfortunately, that's the nature of the capitalistic model to which we subscribe. We subscribe to that model in Grenada, and we can't have our cake and eat it too. All right. I think one of the reasons why when the tire hits the road, we have to be pragmatic. And one of the ways we can solve the problem with the youths having to struggle with paying rent is to have them reside in their community where they're from, the rural community, and having an effective, efficient public transportation system so that they can get to and from work. I think that will help alleviate the problem, and I think we have to change our mindset and manage our expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. That was our final caller for the morning. Respond to the caller and get some closing remarks from you, Mr. Leon.
The caller was hitting the nail on the head in my view. I think he brought a lot of points, and we all know the expenses in the South and all that, but we do have to figure out what are the other things that we can alleviate to make things easier. It's not, I'm not a person who always just focus on the problems. I'm very solution oriented. So yes, in this interview I spoke about all the difficulties we're facing, but I am sitting down trying to figure out and research solutions that can work practically for people. And I agree, rent and all these things can be adjusted. As the callers made sense about the banks and commercial banks. Brother, I completely agree. But my question, we do subscribe to a capitalistic economy, but also mean with capitalism, we have to change where the capital flows. Right now, commercial banks should not be the only purveyors of capital in the country. Private equity, we need to find different ways of funding businesses. Why do you have to go and own 100% of your business and take $500,000 worth of debt or $1 million worth of debt? Why don't you own probably 70% of your business and you only under $200,000 worth of debt because you took other partners that took equity stake in your business to help you go forward? It's not only commercial banks. That is not the only model. We need to look at equity financing and different ways for people to think. Elon Musk owns 8% of Tesla. He's the richest man in the world. You don't have to own 100% of a business to get success. The success of a business is pulling all the best partners and acumen around you so your business can thrive. So I agree with the caller. the present model is not working. I am trying to engage on a national level about talking about opening new doors to solve problems of the future. I agree the present model is not commercial banks and development banks. That model is dying. We need to find new ways to fund businesses and keep young people working and trying new different types of business. Not everything is going to work, but we need to have the model that creates that type of risk-taking, that type of sense of, I would fail, but I'll make it in this country. Because I want more Grenadians to stay back and say, no, I'm not going to the States, I'm not going to England to become financially stable. I'm going to find a way to make it in Grenada, and I'm going to fight for Grenadians, all Grenadians, young people and the older the lot, who wants to make it in Grenada. We need to make Grenada a habitable place for people to thrive and not just live. And I don't want when people come back from the US and England and stuff feel that they have an advantage over us. I want them to come and see that we're permanent vacationers, that we live the highest quality of standard of life. We have the best education for our children and the best quality of life for you to, when you finish work, you can go on Granite's Beach and take a soak with your friends. That is the kind of life I want to promote, and that is the kind of thing I want to bring forth in our political arena. Grenada has so much more to grow, so much more to do, and we need young people to stop complaining and start putting their hands together and coming to help and build this country. I am with a group of young people in the United National Party, who is trying so hard to build a future for Grenada that is looking a lot more like us. And that is what I'm standing here on. I'm standing here on business. I'm here to say to my Grenadian people, I'm always going to try here. I'm always going to fight to make sure my country can be a better place for all of us to live. I don't have children yet, but I'm hoping that when I bring them into this world, that it'll be a better Grenada that they'll be coming into. And that's all I'm trying to do.
All right. So, Allie, I want to thank you once again for taking the time with me this morning. We went a little over time, but of course it was worthwhile. Thank you once again. Hope to see you soon. Hope to see you soon.
I appreciate you
again. Hey, Grenada, that's what we're going to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. Thanks all who contributed to us today's edition. Thank you so much. Have a good one. We say goodbye.